Yesterday, the Archbishop made a surprise visit at the 5 p.m. Mass, and so it was wonderful to have him here. And so he celebrated Mass and also preached. And so I got the first homily from the Archbishop. And then this morning, Deacon Larry preached at the 8 o'clock for this gospel as well. And so I have heard 2 homilies already. So now this is the 3rd homily on this very sort of confusing or controversial parable about the dishonest steward, right? And so I have a lot on my mind, and hopefully I don't get ahead of myself on trying to sort of maybe share my meditations on this parable. So perhaps we can start with something funny, right? So Mark Twain was in a debate with a Mormon. The Mormon says, "Show me in the Bible where it says you are forbidden to have more than one wife." And Mark Twain says, "It's easy. Look at right here. No man can serve 2 masters," right? It's obvious, right? It's obvious. Right? There we go. That's proof. The last few weeks, we have had very controversial or very attention-getting parables, right? Remember Jesus saying that I did not come to bring peace, but to bring division. Remember that one? And so that's like, what? Right? And so if we sit with it long enough, then we know what Jesus is trying to talk about, right? If we dwell deep enough. The truth of the gospel is there. And then another one where he says that we have to prefer Jesus above everything else and above everyone else, right? To the point of even hating, right, our family. That's attention getting, right? To prefer Jesus so much that we would despise everything else other than Jesus. Right? That's another controversial or even demanding gospel. And here is another sort of confusing. Who finds this parable kind of confusing? Anyone? Right? This is St. Luke, where the Lord commending this dishonest steward for doing what he did, right? But then we also know that he's also prudent. Not only dishonest, but prudent. And so I think the focus here is on his being prudent. And prudent means doing the right thing at the right time, the right situation. Having some wisdom. And the more I look at this parable, it's kind of comparable to the prodigal son, because both are only in St. Luke. And so perhaps this is another emphasis or another sort of retelling of the prodigal son. Remember that prodigal son parable where the son was wasteful, right? Prodigal means being wasteful, being lavish. So he was wasteful with his father's property, right? You give me my property so I could go out and do what I want. And so he was wasteful with that. And then he comes to his senses. Remember that? He says, what am I doing here among the pigs? In my father's house, there's all this bread and all this food I want. Why am I eating scraps from the pigs for? And so he remembers his dignity, his sonship. And so he comes to his senses and he comes back to the Father. And the Father embraces him. And even the Father is even prodigal with his Son, lavishly giving him all that the Father has. Get the fattened calf. Get the ring on him, right? Put sandals on him. The Father's being lavished with the Son coming back, coming to his senses. So we could regard that prodigal son account as being a success story, right? A positive story. You wouldn't think that this dishonest steward is a positive parable or have a positive outcome, but it really is. The parallels are this. This wasteful steward was wasting his master's money, right? So he's being called to account. And he's about to be fired. Give me account of your stewardship because I'm about to let you go. And so he comes to his senses. Right? Says, what am I going to do? I am too proud to beg. I'm too weak to dig. He comes to his senses. And then so because he comes to his senses, he knows what to do. He's being prudent. And so he's calling his father's or his master's debtors one by one. How much do you owe my master? 100 measures of oil. Okay, give me that invoice, write another one. This is a new one. This is how much you really owe my master. 50. Here, it's yours. You, how much do you owe my master? Oh, 100 cores, 100 measures of wheat. Okay, here's 80. Right? Give me that invoice. Now you owe him 80. He's doing that so that when he is, fired or sacked, since we're in football season, when he's sacked, right? He has eternal dwellings. He has a place to go. Is that something so novel? Maybe not. I remember in my 20s, I was working for a company. I had an advertising budget, and so I was to buy ads, billboards and ads. And so I would buy from a radio station that would give me tickets to the Rockets game, right? The more I buy from them, the better the seats, right? If you spend this much, I will give you these seats for the Rockets game. Why not, right? It's the budget. It's not my money, but I'm using it to my own benefit, right? Nothing new. Or another situation, what if I work for the FDA and the administration is about to end and new administration is coming in, there's this this period of, lame duck period. What if on my way out, I give Pfizer all the contracts worth billions of dollars on my way out. And so when I'm let go by this administration, now I can be a consultant or on the board of this medical company. Those are modern terms. So this steward is doing something that's very prudent. And so Jesus is using this example of the sons of the world on how they are so smart in preparing for their future. And he compares that to the sons of light, those who are destined for eternal life. And that those sons and daughters are not that smart about that. We don't plan enough when it comes to eternal dwellings, when it comes to eternal life, because the sons of the world, they know exactly what to do to secure their future. What if we were that innovative and that creative? I said, well, this dishonest steward, and we think, oh, dishonest steward, okay. Praying about it, the truth is, we all take part, or we all can be this dishonest steward. Oh, he did something dishonest. Well, think about our own lives. Think about how we are dishonest with the Lord's property, the Lord's budget, what the Lord has given us. Think about in these terms. What if an employer hires you for 8 hours a day, and you spend 3 of those hours, taking lunch, on social media, but shopping online? Aren't you in a way stealing, right, from your employer? You're not using your time or your assets well, what has been given to you. Now expand that to what God has given us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And how do we use that time? If we have not used it well, in a way, we're stealing from the Lord. That's just time. Think about our gifts, our family, things that God has given us, our intellect, our talents. Have we used these things well to secure our eternal dwellings? If not, that means we are working for something else. We're working for mammon. We're not working for God. In a sense, we're stealing. Because that's a very confusing sort of line that Jesus speaks of. Like, make friends for yourself with dishonest wealth, so that when it fails, you may gain eternal dwellings. Make friends with dishonest wealth. What is dishonest wealth? Well, wealth that doesn't belong to us. We think it does, but it really doesn't. It belongs to God. Everything really belongs to God. Make friends with that. That means use it well. Be lavish with it. Be kind with it. Help others with their debts. Alleviate their debts. Make friends with that. Make friends with the time that we have, the gifts that we have, so that when that time ends, when these gifts end, we may gain eternal dwelling. Very profound. And the more confusing a parable is, the more we sit with it, the more riches we can discover from it. Don't let a confusing parable or challenging words of Jesus stop us from sort of spending time with it. And that's what I sort of discovered the last couple of weeks. Like, man, what is this? I don't want to spend time with this. It's just too much. I don't have time for this. But if we spend the time and the effort, God gives us the grace to discover what He is talking about, to discover these nuggets of truth, these treasures of truth. Not related, but the second reading is really on its own beat. Right? This is St. Paul asking for us Christians. He's asking Timothy to encourage his church to pray for all involved. Those are kings and those in authority, right? So modern day terms is those who are in power, those who are in the seats making laws. Pray for politicians. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Pray for those in leadership. That way we can sort of focus on the things of God. The things of God. So we can be peaceable, focusing on what matters to God. So that we can spend our lives doing that. And so, of course, the first reading is about Amos, and that's about those who cheat, right? Dishonesty is not something that God passes. Because here are those who is waiting for the new moon or the Sabbath to be over so they can start selling again, right? They can't wait to get back to the market so they can cheat people, exploit the poor. These are those who work for mammon, who works for profit, where the Sabbath becomes an inconvenience for them. There are those who focus on the mammon. But here, hopefully, these parables wake up our hearts, that we too can be prudent in working for the things of God and to gain eternal dwellings. May God bless us and keep us always in His care. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. God bless you.